Hey everyone! Get ready for some major laughs with today's truly one-of-a-kind family story. A husband was determined to cleanse his system, but it seems his digestive system decided to rebel and take back control. His wife witnessed this entire coup, and she's here to tell us all about it. Let's tune in to see just how hilariously it all played out. If you enjoy entertaining stories like this, be sure to hit like and share.
The Cary, North Carolina evening settled soft and warm over the Brooks suburban home, its brick facade glowing under the golden hues of a late summer sunset. Inside the kitchen was a riot of colored turquoise cabinets, a butcher block counter cluttered with mason jars, and a fridge plastered with photos of Lena and Nate Brooks grinning on various misadventures. Lena, 38, stood at the stove, her dark hair swept into a messy bun, her hazel eyes scanning a sizzling pan of zucchini. As a graphic designer, she thrived on order, but life with Nate, her husband of 10 years, was anything but predictable. Tonight the air carried the earthy scent of boiled kale and brown rice, a far cry from the pizza nights they usually shared, and Lena's brow furrowed with suspicion. Nate, 40, sprawled at the kitchen island. His sandy hair tousled his banker's button-down, rolled up to reveal forearms dusted with freckles. He was poking at a plate of tofu that looked like it had lost a fight with a blender, his expression a mix of determination and regret. "This is gut health, babe," he declared, spearing a limp piece of kale. "3 days of clean eating, and I'm basically a new man." Lena arched an eyebrow, her lips twitching. "The same man who deep-fried a Pop-Tart last month," she teased. Nate grinned, undeterred. "That was science. This is revolution." Max, their golden retriever, lay under the table, his soulful eyes fixed on Nate as if sensing the chaos to come. Nate's sudden obsession with cleaning up his gut had started after a weekend of indigestion from his infamous wing and fiber experiment, 20 buffalo wings, chased with a fiber supplement he'd sworn was balance. Lena had watched, half amused, half alarmed, as he Googled low FODMAP recipes and gut health smoothies, his enthusiasm outpacing his common sense. For 3 days, he'd stuck to boiled veggies. Brown rice and a chia seed smoothie that looked like frog spawn, proudly declaring his insides were detoxing. Lena, ever the skeptic, kept a mental tally of his complaints, bloating, grumbling, and a vague sense of unrest, knowing Nate's experiments rarely ended well. As the evening deepened, Lena cleared the dishes, the kitchen now quiet save for the hum of the dishwasher. Nate, nursing a glass of water, leaned back, his face a shade paler than usual. "Feeling okay?" Lena asked, her tone casual but probing. Nate nodded, but his hand drifted to his stomach. "Just adjusting," he said. "My gut's probably gentrifying, kicking out the old tenants." Lena snorted, shaking her head. "That's not how it works, Nate." But before she could press further, he stood stretching with exaggerated confidence. "Bedtime," he announced. "Tomorrow I'm adding quinoa." Big moves. Upstairs, the bedroom was a haven of soft blues and plush pillows. Max curled at the foot of the bed. Lena slipped under the covers, her e-reader glowing as she settled into a novel. Nate, in his usual plaid pajamas, flopped beside her, his phone buzzing with notifications from a gut health forum he'd joined. "Babe," he said, his voice dreamy. "Did you know chia seeds are like tiny hugs for your colon?" Lena rolled her eyes, smirking. "Go to sleep, Dr. Oz." The room grew quiet. The only sound Max's gentle snores, until a low, ominous rumble broke the peace. Lena froze, her e-reader forgotten, as Nate shifted, his face contorting. "Babe," he whispered, "my insides are composing." Before she could ask what that meant, a sound erupted, a fart so prolonged and intricate it seemed to have its own narrative arc, rising in pitch, pausing, then ending with a flourish that rattled the bedside lamp. Lena's jaw dropped, her laughter stifled by sheer disbelief. Max shot upright, his ears flattened, and bolted for the door. "Nate!" Lena gasped, waving a hand in front of her face. What was that? Nate, wide-eyed, clutched his stomach. The overture, he said, his voice half proud, half panicked. I think my gut's staging a coup. The smell hit next, a noxious cloud that defied description, and Lena scrambled out of bed, yanking the window open despite the humid night air. I'm out, she declared, grabbing her pillow. You and your colon can have the room. Max was already in the hallway, his tail tucked, and Lena swore she heard their smart speaker chime. Would you like to call emergency services? Nate, still in bed, groaned, his bravado fading. Babe, I think I have a twisted colon, he said, clutching his side with theatrical flair. Lena paused at the door, her exasperation tinged with worry. You don't have a twisted colon, she said. You have a chia seed vendetta. Go to the doctor, Nate. Tomorrow. Downstairs, Lena curled up on the couch, Max pressed against her, his eyes wary, as if Nate's digestive symphony might follow them. She stared at the ceiling, her mind replaying the past 3 days. Nate's earnest attempts at clean eating, his stubborn refusal to admit defeat, and the chaos that ensued. She loved his quirks, his wild ideas, but this was new territory, a test of her patience and their partnership. Nate's health wasn't a game, and the fear that something was truly wrong gnawed at her. Yet even now she couldn't help but smile at his gentrifying comment, the absurdity of their life together a thread that bound them. The next morning Nate shuffled into the kitchen, his face pale, his usual grin subdued. I made an appointment, he said, pouring coffee with a wince. Gastrodoc this afternoon? Lena nodded, her relief tempered by caution. Good, she said, handing him a banana-safe simple, unlikely to cause a revolution. No smoothies, no tofu, no experiments, until we know what's going on. Deal. Nate saluted his humor. Flickering. Deal. But if it's bad, you're inheriting my air fryer. Lena laughed, swatting him with a dish towel, but her heart tightened. Marriage was beautiful, but sometimes it was a battlefield of love worry and smells that could clear a room. As Nate left for work, Lena watched from the porch, Max at her side, the Carrie morning bright with promise. Nate's gut check was just beginning, and she knew it would test them both. His stubbornness, her patience, their ability to laugh through the pain. But as the oak trees swayed in the breeze, she felt a quiet certainty. They'd face this together, one ill-fated meal at a time, because that's what love was: messy, smelly, and worth every moment. Morning was crisp, the suburban streets lined with oaks, just starting to turn gold. Inside the Brooks home, Lena Brooks stood in the kitchen, her dark hair pulled back, her hazel eyes scanning a grocery list taped to the fridge. At 38, Lena was used to juggling her graphic design work and Nate's culinary chaos, but the past few days had pushed her patience to the edge. The memory of Nate's orchestral overture, a fart that had driven her and Max, their golden retriever, to the couch, still lingered, equal parts hilarious and horrifying. Now, with Nate at the gastroenterologist, Lena braced for answers, hoping for clarity amid the storm of his digestive misadventures. Nate Brooks, 40, returned home that afternoon. His sandy hair disheveled, his banker's tie loosened like a noose. He slumped onto the couch, clutching a stack of medical pamphlets, his usual grin replaced by a look of defeat. Lena paused her laptop, her design project forgotten, and sat beside him. Well, she asked, her voice gentle but expectant. Nate sighed, rubbing his face. It's official, he said. IBS. Lactose intolerance. And, quote, mild sensitivity to everything I love. Wings, pizza, beer. My colon's basically staging a coup. He handed her a list of safe foods: bananas, rice, plain chicken, his expression like a kid who'd lost his favorite toy. Lena scanned the list, her lips twitching with a mix of sympathy and amusement. So no more deep-fried Pop-Tarts, she teased, trying to lighten the mood. Nate groaned, flopping back. No dairy, no spicy, no fun. Dr. Patel said, I need to listen to my body. What does that even mean? My body's speaking in tongues. Lena squeezed his hand, her voice firm. It means we follow this list, Nate. No experiments, no balancing wings with fiber pills. Deal, Nate nodded, but his eyes glinted with a familiar mischief, and Lena knew trouble was brewing. The next few days tested Lena's resolve. She took charge, stocking the fridge with safe foods, hiding the cheese and hot sauce in a locked Tupperware she dubbed Fort Forbidden. Nate, to his credit, tried sipping rice porridge, nibbling plain toast, but his enthusiasm waned fast. By day 3, Lena caught him eyeing a jar of salsa like a lost lover. "Don't even think about it," she warned, brandishing a spatula. Nate grinned, raising his hands. "I'm behaving, babe. Scout's honor." Max, sprawled on the kitchen floor, gave a skeptical huff, his tail still wary from the chia seed debacle. But Nate's restraint didn't last. That evening, Lena worked late in her home office, her screen glowing with a logo design, when a strange gurgle echoed from the kitchen. She found Nate at the island surrounded by an empty hummus tub, half a watermelon, and a plate of roasted Brussels sprouts. "Nate," she said, her voice dangerously calm. "What is this?" Nate froze a sprout, halfway to his mouth, his face a mix of guilt and defiance. "It's on the safe list," he protested. "Sort of. Hummus is beans, right, and watermelon's fruit. Healthy." Lena's eyes narrowed. "You ate an entire tub of hummus, and Brussels sprouts your gut's gonna file for divorce." She was right. That night the bedroom became a war zone. Nate's stomach unleashed a barrage of sounds, gurgles, pops, and a low rumble like a distant thunderstorm. Lena, half asleep, bolted upright, fanning the air. "Nate, what the hell?" she gasped as Max leapt off the bed, tail tucked, and fled to the hallway. Nate clutched his side, his voice strained. "It's gentrifying again," he groaned before a gas cloud erupted so potent it seemed to shimmer in the moonlight. Lena grabbed her pillow, storming to the living room. "I'm sleeping on the couch," she declared. "And you're banned from hummus." The smart speaker, unprompted, chimed, searching for air purifiers. The next morning, Lena woke stiff and cranky, Max curled beside her, his eyes accusing. Nate shuffled in, pale and sheepish, offering a mug of coffee. "I'm sorry, babe," he said. "I thought I could handle it." "No more hummus, I swear." Lena sighed, accepting the coffee, her frustration softened by his earnestness. "Nate, you need to take this seriously," she said. "Dr. Patel gave you a plan for a reason. I can't keep playing referee with your colon." Nate nodded, his humor dimmed. "I know," he said. "I'll do better." But Lena saw the flicker of doubt in his eyes, the fear of a life without his favorite foods, and her heart ached for him. Determined to help, Lena organized a family dinner to lift Nate's spirits, inviting her sister and parents to their backyard, where string lights twinkled above a picnic table. She prepped a safe menu: grilled chicken rice, pilaf, steamed carrots, double-checking every ingredient. Nate, buoyed by the effort, seemed optimistic, even joking about his gut rehab project. But during dinner, he sneaked a bite of Lena's sister's zucchini casserole, assuming it was safe. Within minutes, his face paled, and a telltale gurgle sounded. "Bathroom," he muttered, bolting inside, leaving Lena to deflect her family's curious glances with a forced laugh. "He's fine," she said, her cheeks burning. "Just adjusting." The incident stung not just for the embarrassment, but for the reminder of Nate's stubbornness. Lena cleaned up alone, her parents' voices fading as they left, and confronted Nate later in the kitchen. "You can't keep doing this," she said, her voice tight. "I'm trying to help, but you're sabotaging yourself." Nate rubbed his neck, his voice low. "I know, Lena. It's just hard. I don't want to be the guy who can't eat anything." Lena softened, touching his arm. "You're still you," she said, "but you need to meet me halfway. For us." Nate nodded, but the glint in his eyes worried her. The breaking point came a week later, during a late-night craving Lena dubbed the Great Yogurt Incident. She woke at 2 a.m. to find Nate in the kitchen, double-fisting Greek yogurt and shredded cheddar, a spoon in one hand, a fistful of cheese in the other. "Nate," she hissed, flipping on the light. He froze, yogurt dripping from his chin, his eyes wide. The probiotics cancel the dairy, he said, his logic so absurd. Lena almost laughed. That's not how science works, she snapped, snatching the containers. You're lactose intolerant. The fallout was swift. Nate's stomach revolted, the bedroom uninhabitable, and Max refused to leave the couch, his trust in Nate shattered. Lena, fed up, imposed new rules: no unsupervised grocery shopping, no dairy in the house, and tofu only under her watch. Nate complied, but his mood darkened, the restrictions chafing his spirit. Lena, torn between love and frustration, called Dr. Patel for advice. It's a journey, the doctor said, her voice calm over the phone. Nate's grieving his old habits. Be patient but firm. You're a team. Lena nodded, her resolve hardening, but the strain was palpable. Marriage was beautiful, but it was also a battlefield, and Nate's gut was winning. The tension peaked when Nate faced a high-stakes meeting at the bank, a chance for a promotion. Stressed, he ignored Lena's packed lunch, rice and chicken, and grabbed a slice of pizza from the office, chasing it with a soda. The consequences were catastrophic. Mid-presentation, his stomach roared a gas attack, forcing him to flee to the bathroom, his dignity in tatters. He returned home humiliated to find Lena in the kitchen, her face a storm of disappointment. You promised, she said, her voice breaking. I can't keep cleaning up your messes, Nate. I'm not your mom. Nate's shoulders sagged, his voice raw. I'm scared, Lena. What if this is my life now? No wings, no cheese, just rice. I don't know how to do this. The argument laid bare their fears. Lena's exhaustion, Nate's denial, and the silence that followed was heavy. Lena retreated to the backyard, staring at the string lights, her heart aching. Nate's health was a shared burden, but his refusal to face it felt like a betrayal. Yet beneath her anger, she saw his vulnerability, his struggle to redefine himself. The question was whether they could rebuild, or if Nate's gut would drive a wedge too deep to mend. The evening was heavy with the scent of rain. The brook's backyard bathed in the soft glow of string lights, swaying gently in the breeze. Lena Brooks stood by the patio door, her dark hair loose, her hazel eyes fixed on the oak tree at the edge of the yard. At 38, Lena was no stranger to Nate's chaos, his deep-fried Pop-Tarts, his wing and fiber experiments, but the past week had stretched her patience thin. Nate's IBS diagnosis, his reckless eating, and the disastrous pizza incident at work had sparked their sharpest fight, yet leaving a silence that felt like a chasm. Inside, Nate sat at the kitchen island, his sandy hair mussed, his face etched with regret, the weight of his choices pressing down. Lena's words from their argument echoed in her mind. I can't keep cleaning up your messes, Nate. I'm not your mom. She'd meant them, her frustration spilling over after months of playing referee to his digestive disasters. But now, alone in the cool night air, she felt the sting of her own anger, the fear that she'd pushed too hard. Nate's confession. I'm scared, Lena. What if this is my life now? Had cracked her defenses, revealing a vulnerability she hadn't fully seen. Marriage was a battlefield, but it was also a refuge, and Lena knew they needed to rebuild together. Inside, Nate stared at the safe foods list taped to the fridge, its neatly printed words: bananas, rice, plain chicken, a map he'd ignored too long. At 40, he'd always leaned on humor to dodge hard truths, but the pizza fiasco at the bank, the humiliation of fleeing mid-presentation, had stripped that away. Lena's disappointment hurt worse than the cramps, and for the first time he saw the toll his denial had taken on her. Max, their golden retriever, lay at his feet, his soulful eyes wary, a silent reminder of the chaos Nate had caused. Nate's hand drifted to his phone, hesitating, then dialed Dr. Patel's office, leaving a message for a follow-up. It was a small step, but it felt like a start. Lana returned to the kitchen, her arms crossed, her expression guarded. Nate stood, his voice low. I'm sorry, Lena, he said, his usual grin absent. I've been an idiot. Eating pizza, ignoring the list, I thought I could outrun this, but I can't. I'm scared of being less, but I'm done making you pay for it. Lena's eyes softened, her anger thawing. Nate, she said, stepping closer, you're not less. You're still the guy who makes me laugh, who tries to revolutionize our kitchen. But you need to meet me halfway. I can't do this alone. Nate nodded, his hand finding hers. I'm in, he said. No more yogurt heists. Promise. The next morning, Lena woke to find Nate in the kitchen, not with a tub of hummus or a fistful of cheese, but with a notebook scribbling a food diary as Dr. Patel had suggested. Day 1, he announced, holding up a banana. No coups, no overtures. Lena laughed, her relief palpable, and joined him, pulling out ingredients for a safe breakfast rice porridge with a sprinkle of cinnamon. Max, sensing the shift, wagged his tail, inching closer to Nate for the first time in days. The kitchen, once a battleground, felt like a haven again, its turquoise cabinets glowing in the morning light. Over the next week, Nate took tentative steps, logging every meal, noting what triggered his IBS. Lena supported him, researching low FODMAP recipes, turning their meals into a game of what won't betray Nate today. They tried zucchini noodles, plain grilled fish, even a quinoa salad that Nate dubbed the least offensive grain. Not every dish was a hit. Nate grimaced through a tofu stir-fry, muttering, "This is punishment, not food," but the shared effort brought them closer. Their laughter filling the house. Dr. Patel, during a follow-up call, praised Nate's progress, her voice warm. "You're learning to listen to your body," she said. "And Lena, your partnership is key. Keep it up." But the journey wasn't flawless. One evening at a neighborhood barbecue, Nate eyed a tray of sliders, his resolve wavering. Lena caught his glance. Her eyebrow arched, and he sighed, grabbing a carrot stick instead. "You're my gut cop," he teased, nudging her. Lena grinned, but her heart swelled. He was trying, really trying. Later they sat on the backyard patio. Max sprawled beside them, the string lights casting a soft glow. "This is nice," Nate said, his hand on hers. "Not the carrots, but us. Figuring it out." Lena leaned into him, her voice soft. "We always do," she said, "even when your colon's composing symphonies." The true test came a week later, when Nate's bank hosted a client dinner, a high-pressure event tied to his promotion. Lena packed him a safe meal. Rice chicken, steamed green beans, but Nate, nervous, sneaked a bite of creamy mashed potatoes from a colleague's plate, unaware of the butter. By dessert, his stomach gurgled a familiar warning. He froze, his face paling, but instead of panicking, he excused himself. Sipped water and breathed through it, the food diary in his pocket a reminder of his progress. The crisis passed minor compared to past disasters, and Nate returned home, sheepish but proud. "I screwed up," he told Lena, "but I didn't blow up the place. Progress, right?" Lena laughed, pulling him into a hug. "Progress?" She agreed, her eyes shining. The moment was small, but monumental proof that Nate was learning that they were a team. Max, sensing the calm, curled up in the living room, his trust restored, his tail thumping against the floor. The house felt whole again, the chaos of hummus nights and yogurt heists fading into memory. One sunny afternoon, Lena and Nate stood in the kitchen, testing a new recipe, baked sweet potatoes with a sprinkle of safe herbs. Nate chopped. Lena stirred, their movements a quiet dance, Max snoozing nearby. "Not bad," Nate said, tasting the dish, his grin returning. "My gut's giving it a standing ovation." Lena swatted him with a dish towel, her laughter bright. "Don't jinx it," she said, but her heart was full. They carried the meal to the backyard, setting the table under the oak tree, the string lights flickering on as dusk fell. Max joined them, his head resting on Lena's knee, a sign the cheddar hurricane was forgiven. As they ate, Nate raised his glass of water, his voice warm. "To us," he said, "and to my colon for not staging a coup today." Lena clinked her glass, her eyes crinkling. "To us," she echoed, "and to surviving your experiments." They laughed, the sound mingling with the rustle of leaves, the moment a testament to their resilience. Dr. Patel's words echoed in Lena's mind. You're a team. And they were through every gurgle, every storm, every lesson learned. Later, as they cleared the table, Lena glanced at Nate, his silhouette against the patio door, and felt a quiet certainty. Marriage wasn't just the good days, it was the nights spent on the couch, the fights that carved deeper trust, the shared victories over a stubborn gut. Nate caught her gaze, his grin soft. What he asked? Lena smiled, shaking her head. Just thinking she said that I'd take 1,000 yogurt heists for you. Nate pulled her close, his voice a whisper. Good, he said, because I'm not done revolutionizing. In the stillness of the Carrie night with Max back in their bedroom and the kitchen quiet, Lena's thoughts settled, a voice clear in her mind. Marriage isn't just about the good days, it's about loving each other through the storms, the smells and the lessons we learned together. The gut check wasn't over, but Lena and Nate were ready, their love a steady anchor in the messiest of battles.